day. Welcome to another edition of Spotlight on Mahopac Schools. Eric Rose, your host, along with Superintendent of Schools Anthony DiCarlo. Anthony, hard to believe the second half of the school year has begun in Mahopac.
It is. I have to tell you, once January comes, boom. It's like boom. It's that quick. So yeah, we're in the second part of the school year. Hoping the weather will continue as the last couple of days to be beautiful. As you know, up to date, we've taken 2 snow days, which is better than it's been in the last number of years. But then you know how March can be, and sometimes even the beginning of April. So the decisions are never easy. I've explained this to the public on numerous occasions. I will always err on the side of the safety of the students as well as the staff. When I can, and I know parents appreciate it, when I can, if I can make a call the night before, I will try to do that. That does not mean I can do that all the time, but so far I think I've been as proactive as possible this season, and again, we're hoping for no more snow.
Update, what's new with the referendum?
So we're in the seeker process. We're looking to see, under what seeker we have to do a review. We're hoping that it's, the first level, so it's not extensive. We're thinking so, but again, you never know. And then once that's complete, it'll go before the board, and the board will make a determination whether we're going to go out with the bond or not. And then once they do, then it's full steam ahead with a lot of visits. It's going to be, coming in at, during weeknights to tour the buildings to see what's going on. We recently did some photos of some of the areas that we're looking at. And Eric, I know you know this, if you go to Mahopac High School and you go to some of these, science rooms, they're the original, the music suites, our library and media centers. Again, I think the scope of the work really meets what we need to do in our district as a whole, and to be able to do it at a cost-neutral expense to the taxpayer, I think is really important. I don't think we get that many opportunities to do this, and this is one of those opportunities that all I can do is to present it to the public in May, then they make a determination based on that.
We have a number of guests on the program today. We have a hero, a 15-year-old hero, a young man at Mahopac High, and we're going to have an interesting discussion dealing with the topic of vaping. Sit back, relax. Anthony and I will be back in a couple of moments right here on Spotlight on Mahopac Schools. Well, Anthony, we talk about fire prevention early on, kindergarten, first, second graders. Every fall, the fire departments from Mahopac Falls come to the schools and work with the young children, teaching them to learn not to burn. And the young man the other day remembered that and saved his house from burning down. We're talking about Joey Nicoshere. That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, Joey's a hero, right? He really is a hero, and we are so honored that what he did in our community for his family, to really recognize right away that there was something wrong, address it, look into it, and then save people's lives, save his own family's life. That's a hero. That absolutely is a hero. And that's why these programs are so important. Sometimes, we don't realize what stays in a young child's head, and it gets imprinted, and this is a perfect example. Unbelievable.
This is not Joey Nicoshere, by the way. This is Dad, the chief of the Mahopac Fire Department, Bill Nicoshere. You have to be proud of your son.
Oh, yeah, very proud. He had called me and said that the transformer blew and then there was smoke in the house. We were just coming back from another fire call and responded right away. And, he did a fantastic job. There was the primary wire came down, and backfed through the house and burned up the meter, the fuse box, and, electrical outlets in the house. There was 2 separate fires, which actually Joey grabbed the fire extinguisher and, put out one in the kitchen and one downstairs. If it wasn't for him, probably would have lost the house.
Well, Joey, I'm sure you heard this many times, but once again, congratulations. He's carrying that fire extinguisher. Every house should have one, at least.
Yeah, so I remember where ours was. Ours was in the hall closet. My mom goes, I didn't even know where it was and how to use it. So as soon as I saw the smoke, I ran and got it, and I put out the fire upstairs, and I was like, all right, there's a fire in the kitchen upstairs. Let me check downstairs. And there was one down there, too. So I was kind of surprised about that, but yeah, I put them both out.
And you called your dad right away too, I understand.
Yeah. So me and my mom, we were the only ones home, and we were watching the transformer explode, so I called him right away. And we heard the noise from the transformer come into the house from the wires. And that's when all the smoke came out, and then I was still on the phone with him, and I told him that there's smoke, you have to get home now.
Time to come home, Dad.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then that's when I ran and got everything and put out the fires.
Future firefighter, Bill?
Oh yes, he's got about a year and a half to go, and then he'll be 17, and he'll be joining just like his 2 sisters and his older brother.
And that,
Anthony,
that
that's-
speaks highly for the family and giving back to the community. You know, we don't realize how lucky we are blessed with our volunteers in this community who do just such an outstanding job. And then we continue to have young men and women who want to continue on that, you know, that great calling to give service to others. And that's just incredible. And thank you to you and your family for what they do, but to all the volunteers that are out there in all our different departments throughout Mahopac, Carmel, and Putnam County.
Don't forget Mahopac Falls.
That's it, Mahopac Falls, exactly.
Okay.
That's my district. There you go.
Well, again, congratulations. Keep up the good work. And when you take that Firefighter 1 course, you want to be there that night.
Yeah.
You see you get that certificate.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
A hero in the Mahopac High School, Joey Nickershire. Anthony, no matter where you go today in public education, Mahopac High, the middle school, the elementary schools, everyone's talking about vaping. We're going to have a discussion about that today on our program. We have 2 experts in the field, 2 trusted faculty members in the Mahopac School, Val Neerman and Davia Bouguet. Vaping, what's your concern as superintendent of schools?
Yeah, and I've said this to you on many occasions that, you know, schools are a reflection of society. And in society, what we have in high schools and now even at colleges, it's at epidemic proportions to vaping that's going on. And I think it's important to understand there's 2 aspects of the vaping. One is the nicotine part of it, and Valerie and Davia will talk about that component and what that does to your body and system, both short-term and long-term. And then there's vaping, where in those vaping products you have THC, you have carcinogens, you have marijuana. That's a whole nother discussion. So there's the health component of it, there's the discipline component of it, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what it means having it in school. And then, of course, I'm sure we'll get to, at some point in time, the discussion of our state, possibly in our governor, looking at legalizing it and what the impacts that has on schools. But it's got an impact. We're not naive enough to know it is here at Mahopac. We work through it. We do a lot of education, which Val and Davia will tell you about. We do counseling when these issues do happen. We reach out to outside resources in the county to help with some of these issues for our families and students. And you'll hear a lot about that today in the conversations that we're going to have with Davia and Val.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts, what happens if a student is caught vaping in the Mahopac schools?
It's very interesting because although it's a new phenomenon, we've had a code of conduct for a number of years that talks about not having tobacco products, marijuana, vape pens, e-cigarettes in school. What's really alarming is that there are many students, what I mean by many, I don't mean it's 80% of our population, but there are a handful of students who are addicted, and therefore they cannot make it through the school day without taking some type of a puff of whatever they might be doing, whether it's sneaking it in the bathroom, whether it's outside in their car, whether it's quickly in the hallway. And Val and Davia can talk to you about some of the stuff is just so quick and unnoticeable. It's really incredible. Actually, we had a health and wellness committee meeting probably about a month ago, and the parents were just astonished at some of what we're telling them is going on with what kids are doing, how they're getting it over the internet, and you know, and I'm going to share something with you, which to me is very frightening, and parents need to hear this. So yesterday in the state of Texas, this came across my phone on USA Today. A high school student, 17, was vaping. The vape pen exploded and went into his carotid and died. These things are not monitored. Nobody's looking at them. Nobody's checking them. They're coming from all over the world. So it's a health issue. It's a safety issue. And listen, I think this district, I can tell you, I've been here since last March. This district has tackled it. We've discussed it. We've had presenters come in, not only to parents, but to students. We have the educational piece. And like I said to you, schools need to adapt to issues that are going on in society. This is a major issue, and this district is taking it seriously as we move forward.
Val, Davia, welcome to the program, first of all.
Thank you.
What are you hearing in the schools themselves?
I'm hearing that kids think that vaping is safe. And the companies that are providing the products have marketed in such a way that parents believe that it is safe. They are marketed as smoking cessation devices. Kids that do it, I think the latest statistic is that 60% of kids that are vaping believe that they're just vaping water vapor that's flavored with natural flavors. We know that the flavors that are used for the products that are marketed to kids are very child friendly, and they think of it as candy and they think of it as harmless. And when their perception is safe, they are much more likely to engage in the behavior, and we know that that's what's going on. That's why we see it at the middle school level. That's why we hear kids talking about it like it's no big deal.
Now, as a social worker, what advice do you give when someone comes into you, is either brought into you by administration saying, Johnny or Susie's been vaping? What do you tell them?
If someone's brought into me and I'm told that a student has been vaping. So it depends. I mean, if it's a parent, so I might want to be talking with them about how they can have a conversation with their kids, what kinds of strategies, kind of parenting, coaching kinds of things, educate them, because like you were saying, so many people don't know. They don't know what to look for. They don't know the ins and outs of it. The kids know. So how to kind of broach the conversation and how to express your concerns. If it's teachers talking, I might suggest some different topics that they can bring up in the classroom and some information that they can share with individual students and the class as a whole.
Mahopac schools are so proactive. They had that big conference. The gentleman from Northern Westchester came up.
Dr. Schumacher, yeah.
Dr. Schumacher a number of months ago. Parents were there. But yet, how do you get more parents out there to become aware of the dangers of this?
So what we can do, and I will tell you, during our holiday break, every single night, and the gentleman who's behind the camera uploaded it, every single night we ran that workshop that Dr. Stumacher did every night, along with the PSA that was done by Putnam County about vaping. We have a hidden mischief night coming up for parents on March 14th. There'll be flyers about, there'll be publications all around. It's a really important night to come out so that you can see and be aware of some of the things to look for in your child's room that can lead you to have some conversations and sit downs with your son or daughter about some of the things that they could be doing right now that you can help them. So the biggest issue is this, okay? It's a taboo, as Val mentioned, that it's a huge deal. What is happening is that, and it's even accelerated. I've seen it, I've heard it, I've had conversations with healthcare providers. You have more and more young adults in their 20s who are being diagnosed with issues, and they go back and listen to what's happening. A lot of it is centered around vaping for just the last 4 to 5 years, because what's inhaled into their lungs that's carcinogenic. Val talked about there's flavors. Nobody knows what's in it. It's not regulated. So there's stuff that's in there, and the kids are in some cases, if they're not doing the nicotine, they're doing other things that are putting in it. Those type of products, you have no idea where they're coming from, where they've been sold, and we know sometimes your body can have one reaction one way, Davi is another, and Val's another. It only takes that one time. That's really problematic. So as Davi was mentioning, so if administration at Mahopac Middle School or high school become aware or find that somebody is vaping and they're vaping for nicotine, there's a disciplinary consequence. But then that individual goes to seek out either Davi, and Davia talks about the risks, the health concerns, and the like. If it continues, then the discipline continues from there. Different from if somebody in school is caught with an illegal substance in the vape pen, having it and or selling it. That's a serious matter, and that can lead, and it has led, to a superintendent's hearing. The superintendent's hearing takes place, and then students can lose, depending on what the consequences in their history, can be out for an extended period of time. And I have to be honest with you. I met with every single group of students at the beginning of the year as superintendent, 6 to 12. We talked about my role academically, socially, emotionally helping them. But then we talked about this. And I said, some of you will not listen to what I said, and here's what the consequences are going to be. Listen, what doesn't help either is social media.
Yeah.
That doesn't help either. And I'd like Val and Davia to talk a little bit about what they do with health classes here, how we do start these conversations early on. Because to me, the earlier we can get,
Yep.
and Valerie will talk about it, and Davia, the earlier we can get kids to understand and prolong them trying to do it, the more successful we'll be. What we did with tobacco smoking, now we have to do with vaping.
Exactly.
Because you can buy this at the local 7-Eleven.
Yes. And you can use gift cards to get them online, and you can do it in a way where parents really don't even know.
So what do you tell the kids?
Oh wow. Well, we have our work cut out for us because the younger the kids, the easier, right? When you take kids in elementary school, they want to know. They want to be healthy. They have the DARE program in 5th grade. We have a brand new K-5 elementary health program, and we can give them information, and we can do fun activities, and we can show them images, and they can walk away saying, "Oh my gosh, I will never do this. I never want to hurt my body. I want to be healthy." And that's just where they are developmentally. So great. So what happens? What happens when they get to middle school? What happens when they get to high school? Well, we know that a few things happen, and one of the things that happens is that their brain goes through this period of development that kind of rewires them to take risks. And when they are rewired to take risks, that's a good thing in many ways because it allows them to learn a new language, try a new sport, do some really great things, but it also rewires them to take sometimes unhealthy risks. So part of our education in the middle school level and part of our education at the high school level is to have them really understand that risk-seeking behavior and understand safer alternatives to getting that feeling. How can you get that rush of dopamine without putting your life at risk? There's a lot we don't know about vaping, so that's another thing. And kids are smart. They know that we don't know a ton of information. We know a lot about tobacco, and we know a lot about the effects of tobacco on our health because we have 100 years of information and medical data, but we don't have 100 years of information about vaping. What we do know, as Anthony said, is that we have kids who are experiencing physical harm, injury, and death because the vape products are exploding. It may not be very common, it may not be every day, but it can happen. We do know that one single pod from a Juul, which is the most popular brand of e-cigarettes, contains as much nicotine as an entire pack of cigarettes. That's 200 puffs. We know that nicotine is an insecticide. It's something that is a poison that can kill insects. We know that the younger you are when you start vaping, the more likely you are to become addicted. And that's the same with any other drug. So we can give them this information. We can have them really kind of identify where they're at. What am I doing now? How can this affect my health today? We know kids are more interested in the here and now than what might possibly happen 20 years from now. That to them is not as meaningful at the middle school and high school level. But how will this affect me today? And what do I want for myself now? What matters to me? What are my values? And what alternatives can we provide to them to managing stress, managing through all of these up and down emotions that they're having as normal teenagers?
Davia, you want to talk about a little bit about addiction and what we try to do and what we're trying to do as a school and some of those outside resources to try to help kids who get to be addicted but yet don't want to talk to mom and dad about it, right? But yet may come to you and say, I need help kicking this habit. What are some of the things that we can help out with and what we can do in the future with helping kids?
Sure, and that's something that I've noticed has been occurring more often, more lately. That kids are kind of recognizing that they are preoccupied with vaping. That it takes up a large portion of their day. That they, panic if they don't have their vaping device on them or if it gets taken away. That they realize how many times they're going for it, and when they try to cut back or they think about quitting or they're told they have to, and they realize they're having a hard time, and it's a big surprise because, like you said, sometimes students don't even know exactly what they're inhaling. What they might not know that it's nicotine or how addictive nicotine is because we spend so much time and we did such a great job, in public health with the tobacco, as you mentioned, that, everybody knows that tobacco is one of the worst things that you can do for your health, right? But this is not tobacco, right? And so we forget about the other health concerns, addiction being one of them, but also there's how nicotine is a poison and how it affects your cardiovascular system, the risk for heart disease, the risk for stroke. Again, things that are later down the road. But they do recognize when they develop a tolerance and dependence, and they do recognize the amount of money that's going out of their pockets, you know, and the difficulty that they're having when they're getting disciplined at school, or mom and dad might be on their case, or both, right? So we can talk about some strategies about how they might successfully regain control, because, you know, sometimes a substance can have control of them, of their thinking and of their behaviors. And so that's kind of like one level of intervention, and Val was talking a lot about the entry level of prevention, but how you intervene, you know, when you discover that a kid is caught up in this, or even has developed a problem.
Yeah, and what's very sad too about this whole discussion is the amount of peer pressure that are put on kids who are not doing it. So, you know, every couple of years, or maybe every year, now I'm dating myself, there seems to be a term that's out there. And I listen, I'm a really good listener. So the new term is you're a sober. So the kids that don't do it, they're being ridiculed because they're a sober, meaning that, you know, you're sober, you don't do anything. So that's, listen, I might be deaf in this ear, but I'm pretty good in this ear. And so that's some of the slang now that's being out and about. So, you know, we also have to support those kids who are not doing it, which are the majority of kids are not, right? But they're under a lot of pressure based on what Davy and Val said, that it's no big deal. Don't listen to what everybody else is saying. Just take that one puff, and then one puff becomes two becomes four, and then so on and so on. And now, as Davia said, you're hooked. So that's, you know, and I think it's got to be a community effort, right? So, but what's important about this segment is letting the public know that we do educate, we continue to educate, we have support. We want the kids to be able to come to us and talk that they have some needs, and we can hook them up, you know, with outside providers. We can help the parents go to outside providers to be able to help. Because sometimes it's really difficult, Eric, for somebody to want to come in and walk in and have a conversation because they're afraid if I go in, people are going to look to see that I'm happening that. So we're looking at strategizing, us and the county, and I spoke with Executive Odell about this, of really looking at maybe be able to have in our district a location where we can have somebody, a counselor, work with our staff, and maybe once a week, at least once a week, have a location, not at the high school, at a different site, where if a student wants to go, let's just say for argument's sake, on Tuesdays, this counselor's going to be there from 3 to 5 o'clock. You can go down and just talk about what are some of the things you could do to not become addicted anymore. What are some of the things that you can be able to do? So, I mean, I think we're trying to do the best that we can, knowing that it's really something that, you know, is something that we have to address as a school district.
The visual reminders are also very positive. And we look behind us over here, we have some of these reminders. I love giving my money to Big Tobacco, said no one ever. Please save our bathrooms. Toilets did not ask to Juul. Vaping in the bathroom, you'll get hooked soon. Turn your body into a vape-free zone. Reminders like this might reach home.
We know that reinforcing the message visually can also have an impact. It's just like advertising. You know, the more you see a product advertised, the more likely you are to purchase it, even if the product costs more than another one. We know advertising works. So it's really the same in the classroom. The more ways we can deliver the message, sometimes Davi and I say, like, you just keep throwing things against the wall and hope that something sticks. And that's the purpose of this display. It will be at the science fair this Saturday at the middle school, and we'll have some fun activities for parents and for students to answer some questions about vaping, and just, again, keep throwing things and hope that they stick, and give parents resources, because they are the best prevention partners. Sometimes it seems like kids aren't listening, but they are, and kids are watching. And I think that's another important message for parents, that sometimes we say things, but then we do other things. And there are things that are legal for adults to do, right? It is legal for adults over the age of 21 to drink alcohol. It is legal for adults to use nicotine products. But there's a reason why those products are illegal. There are public health reasons why the drinking age is 21, or that Putnam County passed the legislation to make tobacco products illegal as well.
And Val, you put it very well. I mean, and I get this question all the time. Schools are a no smoke, no drug zone. That's the bottom line. So even if they're going to have this conversation as a state and the governor's talking about legalizing marijuana, it has no impact on the school. You can't have it. End of conversation. Just based on what you just said. You know, whatever the interpretation may be, that it may be no big deal to others, right? It is a big deal in schools, and it's just not. It's not allowed. And it's not fair to the kids, Val, and you mentioned it, Davia. It's not fair to the kids who want to go to the bathroom, who want to be able to go to the bathroom and not have to worry about somebody smoking or vaping. And because some of these, and I go back to what we said, everybody's body's different. If I have asthma or something like that, and I want to go into the bathroom and I inhale something, that can trigger my asthma. So, you know, we have a responsibility as a school district to educate students in a safe and conducive learning environment. And they shouldn't have to worry about going to the bathroom because every time you go in there, there's a smell or something going on. And that's what needs to be explained too. That kids have the right to do that. You know, a lot of times I hear, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's what our purpose is. You shouldn't be doing it you shouldn't be doing it, period, right? And the conversation for your health. But most importantly, you have no right to disrupt somebody else's education because you want to come in and disrupt the school day by vaping. You know, and what happens then, Val and Diary, and you deal with it all the time, then administration gets involved when somebody is, and then that's time of your time and others, although, you know, we have to do what we have to do, that we can be doing other things, right? And that's part of what happens. And parents need to understand that's why there have to be consequences, right?
And as you said,
And we follow the rule of conduct,
the
right?
ramifications involved for these
Correct.
young people.
Right.
This is serious stuff.
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. But I think the importance behind today's session was to educate the public as to the things that we do. What are some of the issues that are going on across this country, and that, of course, come into our school district, how we're approaching it, and that it's a partnership. It's trying to work together. So if you as a parent, right, and I really implore you, 6th grade to 12th grade, March 14th, and there'll be flyers out there. It'll be down at the full school, probably I think around 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock to really come to this Hidden Mischief Night. You know, there's been a lot of books written. You know, and listen, I'm older than most of you, you know, that are here. And you know, I.G. Magini years ago, right? We used to watch I.G. Magini, Barbara Eden.
Yeah.
She wrote a book, and in that book there were signs after signs about her son. She saw them. They were out and about. She just ignored it. No, it can't be. And then what happened was he died of an overdose.
Yeah.
And she wrote a book to say to parents, please don't be naive, right? You're the parent. You're not a friend. You have every right to go and see and look at things that may be not difficult that you want to see, but could be that you could help save your kid.
Anthony, one of the things that we're adding to this Hidden Mischief Night
Yeah.
that we didn't have when we did it back in the fall at the high school, Davy and I were recently speaking about it, is that we're adding a piece on risk factors for addiction.
Great. That's
So
great.
I think that most families are shocked when they hear that their kids have done something, that they have engaged in any kind of substance use, whether it's vaping or alcohol or other drugs. And we say, like, that can't be my kid, that's not my kid. But we know some information that I think is very helpful. And the more parents educate themselves, the more we kind of wrap our heads around the fact that it could be any of our kids, and there are things that we can do that can work, that can lower their risk, then we're just a safer community, we're a healthier community, school becomes a safer place for all kids.
No question.
So we definitely want parents to come out to this night, and we hope that it's useful. We feel that it's a useful message that maybe we haven't done a great job at distributing up until now, but we said, you know, there's some info that we can really put out there that can help parents to identify risk and talk to their kids about those risks.
Yeah, and I just want to thank both of you because I know for many years, you know, especially you, Val, have been on the health and wellness, you know, meetings that we have. And although I'm new as a superintendent, I mean, being a part of those meetings and listening and educating and problem solving together, right, with parents is really, really vitally important, right? Because that's the piece that's so important for us to get an understanding how we can help out too. And if parents are struggling and not sure, they can always reach out to you, Val, they can reach out to you, Davi, or any of our counselors.
Definitely.
Just ask the question, like, I'm not sure, what do you think? and maybe we can help guide you on getting some of that help, or actually be able to help ourselves if we know what your son or daughter is struggling with. A lot of times we don't know. And one of the things, Eric, that has really become something, if you were to ask me in the first year, that we have to stem the tide, is that I don't want to get involved, or I don't want to say anything because I'm afraid of retribution. And that's why things don't change. So people are out in public stating things about the school district. They don't take things seriously. This happens, it goes on all the time, and they're not doing anything about it. Well, I can assure you this, if I find out about it, and I will say to parents, more and more of it is happening, right? We're getting more see something, say something. We're getting phone calls, we're getting parents that are coming forward, more than I think we've had, but we have a long way to go. We can't change things if we don't know, right? And there's a lot of things we all handle, and the gentleman behind the camera handles, that we do it generically. We never single out a specific student or child. We do it generically to try to help all. And that's an important piece. So, and I will say, that parents and even students, if they see something, say something, they are starting to report it. So if they see a friend or somebody who may be struggling social, emotionally, or may be addicted, they're coming forward and saying, listen, I think so-and-so needs help. And then we can kind of steer our energies in the way that we are helping those individuals, and not anybody having to feel bad about doing it. Because in society, right, if we see somebody who's struggling, we want to be able to give them help. That's what we are all about. And part of our role as educators is to get kids college and career ready, right? And isn't that what ultimately we should be doing?
Well, as you can see, Anthony, Val, and Davia are most passionate about this whole topic. And we encourage moms and dads out there watching the show, young people watching it as well, get involved. March, we're rushing the season. March 14th, be there at the Fall School for a most informative evening. Anthony, we thank our ladies over here. Thank you very much.
Very much, ladies.
And Anthony and I will be right back. Those two ladies are incredible, the knowledge that they have regarding vaping.
Yeah, and they have a passion for wanting to help students. And I think that's what came across, that you'll see the work that's being done as a district, that we really are tackling it head on. We really, and I said, what we have to do, it's very, we've done it before with tobacco. It's now that same type of education about vaping to both students and to parents. And that's the work that we have ahead of us in the next number of years to come.
Talking about years to come, it's been almost a year since this gentleman has arrived in Mahopac. Your hair's a little grayer.
Yeah, I know.
Has it been a good year?
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm loving it. I really do. I enjoy sitting and meeting with teachers, with teacher aides, with monitors, with our bus drivers, with our secretaries. Rolling my sleeves up. Yesterday we had a great conversation about literacy on the elementary school level. And probably February, next board meeting, they'll be rolling out to the public our strategic roadmap for the next 4 years, which really talks about what we've been talking about: the academic component, the social emotional component, the safety component, and technology, and how it's important to bridge all those together so that students, upon graduating out of Mahopac High School in 12th grade, are ready for college and career. But most importantly about the strategic roadmap is all that work that we do from a budget point of view, which we'll be talking about next couple of months, is all linked to what that plan is. This district needs a plan, a vision for where we're headed, both short-term and long-term, what those goals are, and then how we as a community have an understanding about why we're doing what we're doing. That's the really important piece, and it goes back to when I first got here, creating the Mahopac way. That's really what this whole plan is about, and taking this school district to that next level.
He's been creating the Mahopac way 300% for the past year.
Well,
Keep up the good work, sir.
My pleasure. All the
Superintendent of Schools, Anthony DiCarlo. So until next time, thank you for joining us for this edition of Spotlight on Mahopac Schools. Stosh, we thank you for your able assistance. I'm Eric Gross. Until next time, be safe, have yourselves a good day. Bye-bye now.
For more information, please visit our website, www.mahopac.k12.ny.us.